A tagged great white that mysteriously vanishes only to show signs it was eaten by something even bigger, a fisherman's run-in with a massive black shark that could capsize boats, and a chilling account from an early 1900s explorer who swore he saw a shark too big to be believed. These are terrifying shark sightings that could be the Megalodon. Back in 2014, Australian researchers set out on a project to tag and monitor great white sharks along the country's southern coast. One particular shark, measuring about 9 feet long, was tagged and released, and what happened next was alarming, to say the least. Just months after this shark was set free, the tracking device they attached to the shark washed ashore, and when they analyzed the data, researchers discovered this sudden drastic temperature increase along with a rapid plunge to depths of around 1900 feet. The sudden temperature shift and plunge seemed to show that the shark had been ingested by a larger predator, because the predator's body temperature would have, of course, been higher than the surrounding water. Again, this shark was 9 feet long, and you just don't usually think of great whites being eaten. So what had been big and bad enough to do this? Well, some scientists started to wonder if it was a much larger shark that also liked eating other sharks. Well, it turns out it's not unheard of. Great whites have been known to eat each other. We don't know for sure what attacked this poor shark, but what we do know is it must have been quite the monster. There's a legend about a creature lurking in the coastal waters of Baja California known as El Demonio Negro, or the Black Demon, described as an enormous black shark ranging anywhere from 20 to 60 feet long and almost all black. It's said to be incredibly aggressive, and according to some fishermen, the thing is strong enough to capsize boats. One of the most famous accounts came from a fisherman named Eric Mack in 2008. While sailing in the Sea of Cortez, Mack reported coming across this gigantic black shark that matched the descriptions of the Black Demon. He described the creature as having a towering tail fin that stuck 5 feet out of the water, which isn't something you see with any known shark species in the area. Zane Grey was an American author. He was also a hardcore big game fisherman who spent years chasing monsters in the ocean. In his 1931 book, Tales of Tahitian Waters, Grey talks about his fishing trips to the South Pacific in the late 20s and early 30s, and the stuff he saw out there is the kind of thing that still makes people wonder what's really lurking in the deep. He wrote about sharks that were easily over 50 feet long and marlins so massive they snapped lines like thread. He described hooking a marlin over 1,000 pounds only to have it torn apart by a giant shark as he tried to bring it to shore. Grey described some of these sharks as unlike anything he'd seen before. Way too big, way too aggressive, not acting like your average great white or tiger shark. Some were so huge they couldn't even be brought close to the boat. While Grey never said Megalodon specifically, it's not hard to see why people today connect the dots. If anyone had a close brush with something prehistoric, it just might have been him. In April 1977, a Japanese fishing trawler called the Zio Maru was operating off the coast of New Zealand when the crew hauled up this bizarre decaying carcass from about 1,000 feet underwater. The thing was huge, about 33 feet long. The crew took measurements, photos, and even some samples before tossing the carcass back into the ocean because it was starting to rot and sink up the ship. The photos show, well, something. To a lot of folks, it looks like they'd caught a giant dinosaur. The discovery made headlines in Japan. Some scientists thought it was just a decomposed basking shark, since those can take on a similar appearance when their flesh starts breaking down. The jaw, gills, and fins rot off first, leaving that weird long neck look. But others weren't convinced and pointed to the creature's size and shape as being way off from a basking shark. To this day, people still argue about what the crew really pulled up. The official explanation leans toward the basking shark theory, but looking at these photos, it's not hard to see why some people still believe they dredged up a relic from the prehistoric past.
In our number 5 spot today, we have a world record. Basking sharks are known for being one of the largest fish in the ocean, and that is exactly why the largest one ever recorded was definitely something to write home about. foot. In 1851, in the Bay of Fundy, which sits between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia here in Canada, a basking shark was caught in a herring net. This shark was measured to be at least 40 feet long, which is astoundingly large, and it certainly confused those who had caught it at first. I can imagine that they likely also thought that they had some kind of living fossil caught up in their net, but nope, instead they just set a new world record. In our number 4 spot today we have the demon. There are many stories and alleged sightings of what is now referred to as the quote Black Demon of Cortez, which is said to be a massive black shark seen off of Mexico's Baja coast. One story in particular regarding this elusive shark comes from a fisherman named Eric Mack. He had reported that one day while sailing he felt his boat begin to rock, which immediately gave him the feeling that something was awry. Eric was even further startled when he explained that he saw a massive towering tail sticking at least 5 feet out of the water. The stories of this shark are so infamous that it was even the focus of an episode of a History Channel show called Monster Quest. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this video we'll talk about some more of the sightings surrounding the demon. In our number 3 spot today we have Deep Blue. This shark is in fact not a megalodon, but it definitely is a more modern contender. Deep Blue is the name of a great white shark who is most definitely one of the greatest ever recorded, at least in our lifetime. This colossal monster is the largest great white shark ever caught on camera by scientists. She is measured to be 20 feet long, 8 feet high, and about 2.5 tons, and while this isn't all that huge compared to her massive prehistoric cousin, it certainly is no small feat. Rumors of her existence have been spread since as far back as the 1990s, but it wasn't until 2014 that she was officially caught on camera and documented. Researchers at the time were in the midst of studying tiger sharks, but she made her grand appearance after scavenging some food from a sperm whale carcass nearby. In our number 2 spot today we have Bigger Than the Boat. Zane Grey is a man who is a novelist, and he is definitely best known for his adventure novels, but it is also said that he was a deep sea angler, and it was during one of his fishing adventures that his Megalodon sighting came. In the novel, which is titled Megalodon, Fact or Fiction, writer Rick Emmer speaks of this incident, saying that Zane claimed to have seen, quote, one of the man-eating monsters of the South Pacific. It is said that whatever kind of shark he saw, it was a shark that was much longer than his boat, which was somewhere from 30 to 40 feet. He also said that this shark was yellow and green, and that it had a few white spots. Most notably, however, he said that the shark had a massive square head, and that it had, quote, immense pectoral fins. This is all to say that whether he saw a megalodon or not, whatever he saw was not just a harmless great white shark. What do you guys think? Perhaps a megalodon sighting, or just one of the tall, exciting tales told by Mr. Grey? In our number 1 spot today we have the Mariana Trench sighting. A few years ago a video began circulating the internet, and it shows a gigantic shark scouring the seafloor. People online quickly put a story to the video saying that allegedly this is a megalodon that was caught on camera at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. The creature is seen swimming over top of what is apparently an abandoned shark cage, and the video seems to be enough to have convinced many people. The video certainly is compelling, and whatever we see is most definitely terrifying to look at, but with my very limited knowledge of anything that lives in the sea, it's tough to say anything further. While some people swear that this is solid proof, others have brought up sharks that may have a similar appearance to the one seen in the video. What if the world's most terrifying predator never truly went extinct? The Megalodon, a giant prehistoric shark believed to have vanished millions of years ago, might still be lurking in the depths. But why would scientists keep such a massive secret? There are whispers of fear, cover-ups, and secrets too dark to surface, reasons that might make you question everything you thought you knew about the ocean. Imagine waking up to the news that a massive, ancient predator like the Megalodon is still roaming our oceans. The sheer thought of this colossal shark lurking beneath the waves would likely send shockwaves through the public. Beaches could empty overnight, and people would avoid the ocean in droves, terrified of becoming a snack for this prehistoric giant. The fear of such a creature could lead to widespread panic, similar to when early explorers first reported sightings of giant squids, which stirred terror and fascinated imaginations. Scientists and governments might want to keep the existence of a Megalodon a secret to prevent this kind of chaos, knowing that such a revelation could disrupt coastal communities, scare off tourists, and create a sense of unease every single time someone even thought about going for a swim. The aim would be to maintain order and prevent fear from spreading uncontrollably, allowing us to enjoy our ocean experiences without imagining a 50-foot shark lurking just below the surface. Beyond the immediate fear and panic, acknowledging the existence of a Megalodon could have serious economic consequences for ocean-related industries. Imagine the ripple effect. Tourism could plummet as people decide to avoid beaches and coastal destinations altogether, fearing that a giant predator could be lurking in the deep. Fishing industries might suffer as well if a Megalodon is roaming the oceans. Who would want to risk being on a boat or losing valuable catch to a hungry prehistoric shark? Shipping routes could also be affected, with companies opting for longer, more expensive paths to avoid known hunting grounds for this enormous creature. We've seen similar situations before, like when shark attacks caused tourism to drop and fishermen to become more cautious, impacting local economies heavily dependent on the ocean. By keeping the existence of Megalodons under wraps, authorities might be trying to protect these vital industries from collapsing under the weight of fear and the very real dangers posed by a massive unseen predator. After all, it's hard to sell a beach vacation or a fresh catch of fish when everyone's thinking about the gigantic shark that could just swallow the entire boat. Admitting that Megalodons still exist would do more than just scare people and disrupt industries. It would also turn the scientific world upside down. If a massive predator like the Megalodon, believed to be extinct for millions of years, suddenly reappeared, it would shatter our current understanding of evolution, extinction, and our ocean ecosystems. Scientists have built entire theories and careers on the belief that these giants are long gone. A revelation like this would force a rewrite of textbooks, research papers, and the fundamental principles that marine biologists and paleontologists have stood by for decades. It would call into question the credibility of experts who have confidently declared Megalodons extinct, possibly shaking public trust in scientific knowledge overall. In essence, confirming the existence of Megalodons would mean admitting that we don't know as much about our oceans as we thought, and that kind of uncertainty might be something scientists and the world are just not ready to face. Keeping this colossal secret might just be a way to preserve the current understanding of our natural world, avoiding the chaos of having to rethink everything we thought we knew. Adding fuel to the fire is the idea that there might already be evidence of a Megalodon lurking in our oceans, only to be swept under the rug by scientists and the authorities. There are countless stories of fishermen, sailors, and deep-sea explorers who claim to have seen something far bigger than any known shark, describing massive shadows passing under boats or witnessing sudden, inexplicable disappearances of large marine animals. Some have even captured strange sonar readings or blurred, controversial footage that they insist shows a creature too big to be anything else. Yet, each time these stories surface, they are quickly dismissed by the scientific community as misidentifications, hoaxes, or simply the result of overactive imaginations. This consistent discrediting leads to a lingering suspicion. What if these denials are part of a deliberate cover-up to keep the existence of the Megalodon a secret? After all, acknowledging such evidence would not only validate the fears and chaos previously mentioned, but also challenge the authority of those who have claimed the Megalodon is a myth. Keeping a lid on these sightings might be seen as a necessary measure to prevent public hysteria and maintain control over what we believe to be true about the creatures that inhabit our world. Adding another layer of mystery is the possibility of government involvement in covering up the existence of megalodons. If this prehistoric predator were proven to still be alive, it wouldn't just cause fear and disrupt scientific beliefs, it could also hit economies hard. Governments, knowing the potential for the panic and collapse of ocean-related industries, might find it easier to keep such a discovery under wraps. We've seen this kind of behavior before with alleged cover-ups involving the presence of endangered species in populated areas where authorities downplay sightings to avoid drawing attention or causing alarm. By controlling the narrative, they can protect the public's safety, prevent economic fallout, and maintain the status quo. If there's even a shred of truth to these cover-up theories, it's not hard to imagine that acknowledging a living megalodon could lead to chaos on a much larger scale, affecting everything from tourism to shipping lanes, and perhaps even sparking debates about marine conservation and safety measures. Keeping the existence of a megalodon a secret might just be a strategic move to prevent society from spiraling into fear and uncertainty. Acknowledging the existence of a megalodon wouldn't just cause public panic and upend scientific theories, it could also threaten the entire landscape of modern marine research.
This footage came from a Japanese deep-sea research mission, and it was shared online by a channel called Deep Sea Oddities. What they were doing was sending down a camera rig with a baited cage to study deep-sea life around a mile underwater, which is already terrifying enough on its own. But then this thing shows up. It collides into frame and it just looks wrong. Like a shark, but not as well. It's almost got this decayed look to it. Almost like it shouldn't be alive, but somehow is. That's probably why a lot of people started calling it a zombie shark. And then it gets way too close to the camera, trying to decide whether it's food or not, I guess. You can actually see some gnarly features, like the way its jaw hangs or the roughness of the skin and those eyes. Oh, those eyes. This is how I imagine the black demon we talked about earlier looking. And yeah, based on the size of the bait cage, this thing was no lightweight. It's a big, solid predator. Some folks say it's a sleeper shark or some deep sea variant, which are known to look kind of bizarre sometimes, but others are convinced that it's something else entirely. Either way, it's a reminder that we've explored more of the moon than we have of our own ocean, and stuff like this kind of makes me okay with keeping it that way. Alright, so this one's a personal favorite, the USS Stein incident. If you've never heard of it, buckle up. This happened back in 1978. The Stein was a US Navy destroyer escort, out at sea floating along, and suddenly the sonar system freaks out. They head back to dock to check it out, and that's when things get really strange. They take a look at the sonar dome, the part of the ship under the waterline, right at the front, and it's just trashed. There are these huge gashes, some 4 feet long, all over the dome's surface, not like scratches from hitting debris. This thing got attacked. They find what looked like teeth or claws embedded in the dome. Big ones. One marine biologist said it looked like a giant squid, but he also admitted that these claws or teeth were way bigger than anything he'd ever seen before. Then another Navy guy suggests it could be from some other massive undiscovered species. Till this day, nobody knows what attacked the ship that day. Maybe it was a massive shark, like prehistoric massive, like Megalodon massive. This next story comes from Reddit user extreme1_NA, who tells of a terrifying encounter with a shark that made them quit surfing altogether. In 2008, I was surfing about 100 meters offshore near Childers Cove in Mapunga, Australia, when I noticed a seal breached the surface about 50 meters away in a panic. This told me I was not alone in the water and should probably get out ASAP. I immediately started to make my way towards shore when I spotted the shark's fin cruising past. It was a great white, I estimated to be between 3 to 4 meters long. I pulled my arms in and watched as it swam by, only a few feet under the surface. I didn't have much room on my board. I made it back to shore after a few minutes, slowly paddling with barely my fingertips in the water, and after I put my board on the roof of my car, I lit up a smoke to calm my nerves while watching the waves. The next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. The shark had grabbed a seal, and all I saw was red, foamy water and the shark going ape. This happened in approximately the same spot I'd seen the shark not 10 minutes before. Needless to say, I haven't gone out surfing since that close call. I understand it's always a risk in the ocean, but now I have a wife and 2 kids. I prefer to keep my feet on solid ground and spend my time fishing instead. In 2019, a group of divers off the coast of Oahu ran into something huge. They were out there to observe tiger sharks feeding on a whale carcass when a much bigger creature showed up, something so massive it made the tiger sharks look small. It was a female great white shark, later nicknamed Howley Girl, and she was estimated to be around 20 feet long and over 5,000 pounds. Big even for a great white. We're talking about something in the same size range as the infamous Deep Blue here, one of the biggest great whites ever filmed. Howley Girl wasn't shy either. She came in close, really close. One diver, Ocean Ramsey, who has to have one of the most perfect names for a diver I've ever heard, even touched this shark. The shark just glided past like a submarine. It was covered in old scars, clearly a veteran of the deep ocean, and what made this encounter even more amazing though was how rare it is to see a great white of this size in Hawaiian waters. Most of them stick to cooler areas, so this was kinda out of the ordinary. This photo alone is enough to give you pause. The thing that makes the image so unsettling is the people standing just a few feet away from it. It's not like there's some tiny kids. These are fully grown adults, and the shark still dwarfs them. You could line up a few of them end to end and still have room to spare in that mouth. This image was captured in 1975, and the guy behind the catch was Colin Oslo, who worked with the Fisheries Department in Albany, Western Australia. He was part of a government program to reduce shark numbers to help grow the local seal population. The plan wasn't exactly subtle, but it was effective. What nobody expected though was for this thing to show up. This shark came in at around 3,300 pounds. Oslo had to use a heavy-duty wire snare, and even with that, the fight took about 30 minutes. At one point, the shark thrashed so hard it lifted the front of the boat clean out of the water, like a scene from Jaws.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the TikTok shark. In May of last year, someone on TikTok called Alex Albrecht, who is a marine biodiversity student as well as a musician, shared a video on the app that had people seriously shocked. The TikTok shows a massive shark lurking around the ship that Alex was on, which is said to have just been off of the coast of Massachusetts at the time. The ship was full of research students when this massive shark made its appearance, many of which either screamed or had some sort of expletive to say in response. Another TikTok user asked in the comments if the shark in the video is a megalodon, considering how absolutely huge this thing was. Was this an actual megalodon? Likely not, but hey, I'm not the marine life student here, so who am I to say? In our number 9 spot today, we have the cray fisherman. David Stead is an Australian naturalist, and in his book titled Sharks and Rays of the Australian Seas, he details an encounter with a shark that some have taken to believe is the legendary Megalodon herself. Apparently this incident happened in 1981 to a group of cray fishermen that David spoke with. These fishermen were absolutely terrified of a shark they saw in their fishing grounds, which were just off of Broughton Island. They were so scared, in fact, that they refused to return to the fishing spot for days. All the men agreed that the shark was monstrous and that it was most definitely a shark, not a whale. The men explained that they had never seen a shark of that size before, and considering how they were all seasoned fishermen who had all had their fair share of encounters with sharks, whales, and all of the terrifying things that the ocean has to offer, how frightened they were really did leave quite the impression. In our number 8 spot today, we have 2 specimens. This story comes from all the way back in 1869 when an Irish scientist headed out on an expedition to Seychelles. It is said that he went there to study fish, but man, he was not prepared for the specimens he would go on to study. It is said that he found one that was over 15 meters, which is already a whopping almost 50 feet, but the other one really took the cake. The second specimen it is said that he found was alleged to have been 23 meters long, which is a massive 75 feet. Since this was so long ago there wasn't any official documentation of it, but if there had been, the second one would hold the record for being the largest ever recorded. That is absolutely wild. Seeing it is one thing, but imagine being able to actually study it. In our number 7 spot today we have the sailors. This gigantic shark sighting is said to have taken place in the 1960s just off of the edge of Australia's Great Barrier Reef. According to author B.C. Cartmel in his book Let's Go Fossil Shark Tooth Hunting, the sailors involved in this sighting initially refused to talk about it because of the fear of being teased for being afraid of what they had seen. After some time, however, they began to speak about the incident. They explained that while on board their 85-foot ship, they needed to weigh anchor in order to conduct some engine repairs. While this was ongoing, the crew became absolutely shocked when they saw the biggest shark they had ever seen slowly swimming past their completely stuck ship. Just like the last one, all the men agreed that they were not mistaking a whale and that it was indeed a shark. They also said that this shark was so large it was rivaling the boat in size. That is absolutely massive. Whether it really was a megalodon or not, whatever shark they saw that day certainly wasn't the average size. In our number 6 spot today we have the battle scar. This story is a little different than the others on today's list, and it started with the sighting of a great white shark. This 15-foot long shark was spotted swimming just off of Isla Guadalupe in Mexico, but what was so striking about this great white in particular was the absolutely savage wound it had on its side. This huge bite mark had people speculating as to what in the world could have caused it. I mean, there aren't very many predators to great whites, so it's a pretty rare occasion to see such a huge bite mark right on the side of one, and people were doubting whether or not another shark would have done this to one of its own species. There definitely are reasons for why this could have been an attack from another shark, but of course people took this as a possible sign that maybe there's something bigger lurking in the waters. If the megalodon somehow isn't actually extinct and just manages to evade any sort of confirmation of its existence, it certainly would need a ton of food to survive, which makes big fish like great whites a perfect snack. The megalodon is, however, one of the most powerful predators to have ever lived on our planet, so if this bite really was from a megalodon, it's surprising that this great white made it out alive. The moment that we confirm that a megalodon is still swimming in our oceans, all eyes and funds would likely shift toward studying this incredible discovery. Research on other crucial topics like coral reef conservation or deep sea ecosystems might suddenly find itself on the back burner as funding is diverted to chase after this one sensational predator. In science, money often flows towards the most pressing or fascinating question of the moment, and a living megalodon would undoubtedly become the new star of the show. Current marine research projects could be stalled or even cancelled as the world's attention and research dollars fixate on unraveling the mystery of this gigantic shark. This could undermine decades of work and progress in other areas of ocean science, ultimately slowing down our overall understanding of marine ecosystems. So, keeping the existence of a megalodon a secret might be a way to preserve the balance of marine research, ensuring that all parts of the ocean get the attention that they need, rather than allowing one prehistoric predator to hog the scientific spotlight. And we just know it would. Like, honestly, if we found out that megalodons were still there, how could we not? The idea that megalodons could still be swimming in our oceans taps into a much larger issue: the power of skepticism in mainstream science. Scientists and experts often dismiss fringe theories like the existence of a prehistoric shark as mere fantasy to protect their authority and credibility. This skepticism isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's a way to ensure that only well-supported, rigorously tested ideas are accepted. I definitely understand that. But history shows us that sometimes mainstream science gets it wrong. Take, for example, the once ridiculed concept of continental drift, which was initially dismissed by geologists before becoming a cornerstone of modern Earth science. Or think about the discovery of the coelacanth, a fish believed to have been extinct for millions of years, which was later found alive and well. If megalodons are out there, admitting their existence would mean that mainstream science would have to eat eat a hefty slice of humble pie, acknowledging that they too can miss the mark. Keeping the idea of a living megalodon relegated to the realm of myth might just be a way for the scientific community to avoid admitting that they could be wrong again, maintaining their authority and control over what is considered real knowledge. Now for the most terrifying point on this list, if the Megalodon were proven to exist today, it wouldn't just be a topic for scientists and thrill seekers, it could also attract the attention of governments and military forces around the world, turning this ancient predator into a potential tool for weaponization. Yes, I have seen the Meg too. Think about it. A creature of that size and power could be seen as the ultimate biological weapon, capable of stealthily taking down ships or disrupting enemy operations in coastal areas. History has shown us that when a strategic advantage is at stake, governments won't hesitate to exploit biological resources. During World War II, for instance, there were attempts to train animals like dolphins and sea lions for military purposes, using their natural abilities to serve human agendas. In the case of the Megalodon, some might speculate that secret programs could emerge aimed at harnessing its fearsome capabilities for military use, or at the very least to study its behaviors and biology in a highly classified setting. By keeping the existence of the Megalodon a secret, governments could prevent other nations from pursuing similar interests, maintaining a balance of power and avoiding an arms race over who controls the ocean's deadliest creature. The discovery of a living Megalodon would also spark a whirlwind of ethical dilemmas and conservation debates. On one hand, this prehistoric predator would be a remarkable find, possibly the most significant in marine biology. But on the other hand, its existence could pose a direct threat to humans and other marine life, creating a very tricky situation. Should we protect this ancient creature, study it closely, or even try to contain it somehow? Conservationists would be torn between the desire to preserve a rare species and the need to safeguard people and ecosystems. This isn't just theoretical, we've seen similar ethical quandaries with dangerous or invasive species like the Burmese python in Florida or great white sharks in popular swimming areas. With the Megalodon, the stakes would be even higher, as its sheer size and power could disrupt entire oceanic food chains and habitats. Deciding its fate would challenge our current approaches to conservation and force us to ask tough questions about how far we're willing to go to protect something that could be as dangerous as it is rare. By keeping its existence under wraps, authorities might aim to avoid these thorny ethical debates and maintain a sense of normalcy in our current conservation efforts. Admitting that the Megalodon is still alive would force humanity to confront one of our deepest fears: the unknown. The idea that a massive ancient predator could still be lurking in the ocean's depths is unsettling because it suggests that there could be other creatures out there just as formidable and undiscovered. Our oceans are already home to countless mysteries, with new and bizarre species being discovered regularly, like the colossal squid or the ghostly deep-sea anglerfish, which have both challenged our understanding of marine life and reminded us of how little we actually know about the vast underwater world. If a Megalodon were added to that list, it would be a stark reminder that the ocean is still a largely unexplored frontier, filled with secrets beyond our comprehension. This fear of the unknown taps into a primal part of us, stirring imaginations and sparking anxiety about what else could be out there lurking in the shadows. By keeping the existence of the Megalodon a secret, authorities might be trying to shield us from this unsettling realization, allowing us to swim and explore the seas without constantly looking over our shoulders, wondering what might be just out of sight in the deep, dark waters.